Hi everyone, this is a video lesson on angles and parallel lines. This is to take you on further to look at more complex diagrams, so it's really a recap for today's lesson. Starter here quickly, if you can complete that and then come back on for the answers. So what we have to do here to solve this equation is take away 2 first of all. 5x then is equal to negative 10. Negative 8, take away another 2, we're going further down the way. Divide this both sides by 5 and we will get x equals negative 2. Question 2, we want to change the subject to c. C is on the right hand side, so I would swap over the sides first of all to make that 2c plus 9 equals m. Then take away 9 from both sides, 2c is m, take away 9. Divide both sides then by 2, and c is m, take away 9, all over 2. Question 3, we have got angles in a triangle. All of those add up to 180. The right angle down the bottom there is 90. Take that away with the 26 from 180. When we do that then, we will get an answer of 64 degrees, which has to be our missing angle. Okay, so today before we go on to angles and parallel lines, I want a quick recap, first of all, of angles that are opposite one another. So that gives us diagrams that make a little X shape. And what we know is if the angles are opposite one another, so across from one another in this X shape, then they are the same size. So for diagram A, we have got an X here on the right hand side, and we have an X on the right hand side, the left hand side. So I've marked those diagrams on there because that's the only bit we're going to focus on to get us started. So the one on the right hand side, 55 is opposite as 55 down here. So that has to be 55. 100 is opposite this one over here. So that also has to be 100. Now let's get rid of those diagonals. Additionally, with this diagram, I know that we have a straight line along there, telling me that 55 plus the angle beside the 55 on the other side of the straight line has to add up to 180. So 180 take away 55, 125, then the 125 is opposite that one, so 125. A straight line here as well, they have to add up with the 100 to make 180, so those two have to be 80s. Now lastly, for the last angle to fill in, I have got an angle down the bottom there, which is in a triangle with 80 and 55. So 180 subtract 55 subtract 80 will give us that angle down there, which will be 45 degrees. Okay, so it's opposite angles, but we're also looking at angles in a triangle as well. Now, the question C here, or the one on the right hand side, I'm going to fill in that angle up the top there, first of all. And the way I'm going to do that is by doing 180, take away 34, take away 46. Now that's because that angle is in a triangle with 34 and 46. So that will give me 100. So that angle up here is 100. Opposite that angle on top of it has to be 100 also. Therefore, to find the angle up on the right hand side, the missing one, I have to do 180, take away 100, take away 20. So that angle in there will be 60 degrees. Okay, so again, it's just putting in here little recap of opposite angles, but also including them in angles with a triangle. Okay, right, let's go on to our parallel lines then. So the first thing we're going to do is to identify and calculate corresponding angles. Now these are angles that form F shapes and two angles that are contained within an F shape. Now this one down the bottom right, seems like the most F looking shape. the two angles there that are marked in green have to be the same size as they are contained within the F. Down the bottom left, we have got an F shape that is backwards, but it's still an F. And the two angles contained within that are the same size. The purple one, that will be our F there, and the two angles contained within it are the same size. And lastly, top right, the two angles contained within that F are the same size. So notice there that our Fs can be of any orientation, and they can also be kind of flipped or backwards, anything like that as well within our diagrams. The trick here is identifying the Fs and working out which angles are contained within them. So to do that for this diagram, we can see that the two lines that I've put dots at the end, they are parallel, which means they are the ones that are going to form the F shape. Immediately, I can spot an F with those two. The 78 and the C are contained within that F, so C has to be 78. Opposite C, we have E, which has to also be 78 degrees. And additionally, we have got E and D forming a straight line, which means that they both have to add up to 180. So 180 take away 78 will give us 102 for the angle for D. Okay, so we started off there with the F shape, but then extended to opposites and straight lines as well. That's going to be key for the questions today. Next one. So again, this will be a slightly different looking F. Those two are my parallel lines, so they will be included within the F shape. I am looking for a given angle so that I can use that to find out the rest of them. So my F shape is going to be lying on its back. The 98 and the F are contained within the F shape, so that is 98 degrees and the F angle. Now the two angles that are beside one another here, they form a straight line. So 180 take away the 98 will give us 82 for H. And this diagram, because the parallel lines are parallel with one another, the right hand section of the diagram is exactly the same as the left hand section. So additionally, G is also 82 degrees. Moving on to alternate angles, we are looking this time for Z shapes. So we've got on the top right, that looks like the most obvious Z shape. Top left, we've got a backwards Z shape. And you can see it's the blue angles here that are both within the Z shape. Okay, and again, angles within the Z that are at those little points are the ones that are the same size. So, in this case, we're only asked to find one angle, and there is a Z shape which contains that angle along that red line. 65 and the X are contained within that Z, which means X has to be 65 degrees. Next one of these. This is similar to the one we had previously. The only thing here is we now have a Z shape instead of an F to work with. So we have the number 70. We can create Z with that number 70. Yes, it's backwards, but it's still a Z. With the number 70 and the letter C, telling us that the letter C has to be 70 degrees. Opposite the letter C is E, that is 70 degrees as well. And in a straight line with E is D, that's 110. Now additionally with this diagram, if we were asked to fill in all the angles, I could say that down here is also 110, because it's opposite the 110. Over this side is 70, because it's opposite the other 70, and both of those are 110 as well. So both parts, both the top and the bottom part of this diagram are the same, and that is because of those two parallel lines going through. There's one additional line going through the middle of the parallel lines, but because the lines are parallel, they create two of the same diagram at the top and bottom. So that's the examples for today. I'm going to ask you to go to the Teams page and complete some questions on these. As I say, it's not anything that's entirely new to you. You should have seen this before, but hopefully this has jogged your memory. Okay. Please ask any questions that you have, stay in touch, and